I'm looking at something that I'm referring to in this instance called "it doesn't really matter." Now, what does that mean in this context? In my life and just, observing people's lives, I've realized that there are a number of things that can hinder us or actually stop us from fulfilling the plan that God has for us. One of those things is our view of ourselves. So what does that mean? It means that there are times that there are certain things that we are meant to achieve, where there's certain things that we're meant to do in the context of God. And it's like, man, I can't even do this. I don't have the skills. There's no way I can, And the view that we have about ourselves just keeps us from doing those things. Not just in the context of God, but I think in all, or not in all, some areas of life. So Jesus meets this woman in John chapter 4, and he begins to have the conversation with her. He talks to her about her life, talks to her about a number of things. And for this woman, as far as she was concerned, she just came to that place to do her daily tasks, go home, no big deal at all, and that was it. But God had had another plan for her that she was not aware of. But one thing that held her back in that instance was her view of herself. She probably it didn't even cross her mind that God could do so much with her. So how did Jesus move her from the place where her view about herself didn't really matter? As I mentioned, I'm talking about what I'm calling "it doesn't really matter." Jesus got her to the point where she fulfilled God's will in her life, and she was able to move in the direction that God wanted her to by doing one thing. He got her to agree with God's plan for her, which meant her self-view, what she thought about herself, though factual, couldn't really stop what God had planned for her. And it wouldn't really matter. But just based on one thing, she had to agree with God's plan for her life. Once she did that, her self-view, her opinion about herself didn't really matter. And she was able to fulfill everything that God had planned for her. The same way that you'll be able to fulfill everything that God has planned for you, the same way that I'll be able to fulfill every plan that God has for me, as I agree with God's plan for my life. In that context, nothing really matters. Nothing can really stop that plan.